Hi guys, it's Josh Lloyd here for your DraftKings first look for Wednesday, the 20th of January. We have 10 games up on the NBA slate. Let's look at them, and then let's talk about them right now. We were supposed to have 11 games on, but one of those has been postponed. But let's start with the first game that's actually going to be played, and that is the Dallas Mavericks and the Indiana Pacers. The Mavericks are still without Josh Richardson, Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber, and Dorian Finney-Smith. The Pacers, of course, are going to be without Karis LeVert, but they could be getting back Jeremy Lamb. We also don't know the status of Miles Turner, who's dealing with an avulsion fracture in his hand, which is not considered to be a long-term thing, and he is currently listed as day-to-day and questionable. Now, if he is out, they did start Doug McDermott in his place last game. That's probably going to be the direction that we want to look there, although I guess you could have fun with Goga Badadze potentially. The Pacers are 1-point favorites here. The total is 219. Luka Doncic is at 10,700. Very disappointing from Luka last game, just the 36 points. I still like him here. I'm not totally into him, but I still do like him at that salary. And then you got Domantas Sabonis, who is up at 9,800. Now, it is a lot for Sabonis, but he's just constantly churning out 50-point performances. And as a cash play, the value in someone who's just consistently in that high 40s, low 50s at that salary is there for me. I like it. I like Brogdon at 83, not quite as much as I have in the past. His numbers are starting to come down somewhat, averaging under 40 over the last three contests. And at 8,300, you'd like someone to do a little bit more than that. I'm into Porzingis, though. 7,900 for KP. He's back. He's playing back-to-backs. He's playing big minutes. Nothing slowing him down, apparently. So he could be an option, as could Jalen Brunson, who did start last game for Dallas. He played, 27 minutes and had 21 fantasy points there. His upside is probably capped by the fact that he's playing next to Hardaway, Porzingis, and Doncic, but he's at least a name to watch. Well, Doug McDermott at 47. Now, McDermott put up good numbers. No doubting that. No one's denying that McDermott put up a good performance, 28 fantasy points, but it came on 71% three-point shooting, and he had 1 rebound and 2 assists. So, if the shots don't go in like that, will he even get to 22 or 23 fantasy points? I'm not that convinced. You could also take a flyer maybe on a Trey Burke if he's going to get minutes over Jalen Brunson, or at least take more advantage of those minutes than Brunson has so far. Or it's not necessarily so far, more in the last game. The next game we take a look at is one that's pretty interesting to watch because it is the Brooklyn Nets and it's the Cleveland Cavaliers. And Kyrie Irving is likely to play. And we'll get to see Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant play together for the first time. We'll also get to see Jarrett Allen and Taurean Prince play against their former team. How Jarrett Allen works with Andre Drummond and how that minutes split looks is probably one that we're going to want to avoid for DFS, but that's something to watch. While Colin Sexton and Darius Garland are both questionable after having missed it feels like the last forever. Garland is at 5,600. The Nets have horrendous defense. If we hear that Garland is playing, I like him at 5,600. I also think that Sexo at 6,800 has value, but we just don't know if those two guys are going to play. Andre Drummond, the last time we saw Andre Drummond, he was out there dropping a 30 and 20, which gave us 75 fantasy points. It also meant that he played 39 minutes. Now, I really, really doubt that Andre Drummond is going to play 39 minutes and Jarrett Allen is going to play 9 minutes in that center split. So I would not want to spend 9,900 on Andre Drummond here. Kevin Durant's at 10.5. It is really hard to have a guess as to how all this is going to work out between Durant, between Irving, between Harden. Durant is at 10.5, Irving's at 9,000, and Harden's at 10.9. I wouldn't want to use all of them for a start. I probably, on a 10-game slate, will just throw my money somewhere else than relying on those guys, especially for cash. If I'm in a tournament, I probably do look at the 9,000 of Kyrie Irving, but even then, he's been out for so long. What's his conditioning going to be like? How are the shots going to be distributed? There is quite a bit of risk associated with that. Not much else that's really massively appealing to me in this game, but yeah, from a viewability point of view, watching how Irving, Harden, and Durant all go together is going to be very, very intriguing indeed. The next one's a matchup that is intriguing from a different perspective, not because we want to see new players fit together, but because this could be a matchup we're seeing in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid missed the last couple of games. It looks like he's going to be back. Furkan Korkmaz is returning for the Sixers, while Seth Curry also back from his COVID-19 diagnosis. Rob Williams is back for the Celtics, but they're unfortunately going to be without Jason Tatum. Embiid's at 96. I feel good about Embiid getting a base of 45, a minimum, a floor of 45, pushing up to 55 in a matchup against Tyson Thompson. I think Embiid looks to be the goods for me. Marcus Smart at 65 is too much. Do we go with Seth at 5,300? He put up some big numbers before his issues. 41 points the last time we saw Seth Curry on a court. 5,300 is really, really intriguing. Shake Milton has been playing well. Will that impact Seth? I'm not totally worried that though. I think Seth is a good option. While Jaylen Brown at 8,700 feels too high. And so does Ben Simmons at 91. Although, if you look at the other member of that, those big names in the Sixers lineup, Tobias Harris at 72. He's someone I would be marginally interested in. I think we can forget about Daniel Tice, forget about Tristan Thompson, forget about Rob Williams. If all three of them are going to play, there's just not going to be enough minutes to go around, almost regardless of their price, for them to have any sort of DFS impact. So I think we can leave those guys out of it. The next game is the Miami Heat. They are taking on the Detroit Pistons. No Jim Butler once again. Tyler Hero is questionable. Avery Bradley and Myers Leonard are out, while Goran Dragic is probable. No Killian Hayes for the Pistons. Not for the Pistons, sorry, because they're not playing the Pistons. That's not. I don't know why I said Pistons. Ignore Pistons. That's the Raptors. Because the Heat have been playing the Pistons the last couple of days. The Miami Heat are taking on the Toronto Raptors, another game with playoff implications. So let's talk about it again. All those Heat players are still out because it doesn't matter what their opponent is. Those guys are still out. I do like Fred VanVleet at 7,500. He's been underperforming a little bit of late, but I do think a nice bounce back could be in order for him. The Raptors are also starting to look a little bit more like the Raptors, which is good news. Love Goran Dragic at 5,700, especially if Tyler Hero is out. It doesn't really matter if Hero plays. I'd still like him, but if Hero is out, it's an awesome one. And Adebayo at 8,600, he's similar to Dragic. He's going to get improved value if Hero is out, but the fact that Butler is out is what helps Adebayo and Dragic there. The wiki Chris Boucher, 7,300 for him. Can anyone stop this bloke? He is putting up some absolute monsters at the moment. He had 47 last game, 38 the game before that, 49 the game before that. 7,300 is not too expensive for Boucher. Pascal Siakam at 8,000, that's too expensive for him, and I wouldn't want to use Lowry or Hero most likely in this matchup. I just don't think that I don't really think it's the right spot for them here in this one. Let's take a look at the next game. This one, in fact, is the Detroit Pistons. They're taking on the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks are 5.5 point favorites, and the total is 221. How about Clint Capella? He has been putting up really, really big numbers. He's up at 7,600, but that doesn't dissuade me. He's getting almost 40 a game over the last couple. 54 and 54 in each of his last two. I don't really think Mason Plumlee is going to be the big man that slows him down. I'm in on him. The guard situation for the Pistons is a tough one. Derrick Rose, Josh Jackson, Wayne Allington, Delon Wright. I'm not appealing. None of those guys are appealing outside of Derrick Rose, because Rose comes in at 5,400 and I thought played pretty well last game. Had 34 DraftKings points, 39 the game before that at a sub 6,000 price. Rose is the one of those guys we use. Trae Young's at 93, maybe for GPPs. And then one of the most improved players in the NBA, Jeremy Grant, 7,700. Actually really like that one as well. Not interested in John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, Blake Griffin, or Wayne Allington really for this matchup. The next game we take a look at, the Orlando Magic. They're taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Wolves are still going to be without their COVID guys in Juancho Hernan-Gomez and Ricky Rubio. Al-Farouq Amino and Mo Bamba are out for Orlando, as is Michael Carter-Williams, while Evan Fournier is listed as doubtful. Nikola Vucevic, 8,600. Vooch has been just racking up big ones, and I don't think Naz Reid is going to be the player to stop him. I think Vooch at that unbelievably low price, which I don't know why they've dropped it that much, that is one of the plays of the day. With Juancho out, Jared Vanderbilt played 29 minutes last game. I think he took 4 shots. He ended up with 29 points in 29 minutes, and he's at 4,900. If he gets any more of a look on offense, that will be a real steal there as well. While Aaron Gordon, he's handling the ball a lot. He's getting a lot of assists, which is great. And DraftKings is listing him as a point guard, which is intriguing to say the least. He had 57 last game. I'm in on him. D'Angelo Russell at 8,800 also looks all right without Karl Anthony Towns there. And I guess you could take a flyer on a Naz Reid at 48. I'm not massive on Malik Beasley or Cole Anthony or Anthony Edwards. I just think their prices and or production isn't really marrying up to what we're looking for here. Next up, it is the Phoenix Suns. They're taking on the Houston Rockets. No spread or total out for this one, but tell you who is out. Johnny Wall is gone. Daniel House is out. Dario Saric is out. Jalen Smith is out. Sterling Brown is questionable, and Cameron Payne is questionable. PJ Tucker's at 4,100. He's doing absolutely nothing, so let's steer clear of him. While Christian Wood, the crucifix, 8,400 for Woody. He's averaging 53 over the last 3. Yeah, I'm fine with using him. Although DeAndre Ayton has been pretty good defensively. Cousins at 46, no interest in him. While Chris Paul at 7,200. Paul is quietly ramping up the production of late. Really strong in the game against the Grizzlies. He had 34 points there. 7-2 might be a smidge too high, but I'm not against it. McCall Bridges at 57 is averaging 35 in his last 3. That can work. And DeAndre Ayton at 7,000 really got back into it last game, which is great. And with John Wall out, I'm really big on Victor Oladipo. He handled the ball. He was the point guard last game. He had 9 assists and 54 DraftKings points, which at 7,800 is one that I think we have to be in on. Devin Booker's at 82. No one will be rostering Booker, so that might work out in your favor. But the way that he's playing, it is hard to feel any sense of reliability with Devin Booker at this point. The next game we look at is the Memphis Grizzlies. They're taking on the Portland Trailblazers here. The Blazers are 1.5 point favorites. No Nurkic, no McCollum for them. The total here is 222 points. No Jaren Jackson, no Justice Winslow either. Xavier Tillman's, or no Jonas Valanciunas for Grizzlies. Xavier Tillman, 3,500. Love it. He's going to start. He's going to play decent enough minutes. That salary is super appealing to me for Tillman. In his first start last game, he was solid and had 23 points, which at 3,500 is already brilliant value. Ja Morant's at 7,300. I think he's been strong since he came back, but he hasn't actually blown up. So 7,300 is a good price. Well, Enes Kanter at 6,300 is one to avoid. I would much rather take, if it's $300 cheaper, take someone like Brandon Clark at 6,000, who's playing a lot of minutes at the moment. Damian Lillard's at 10.4. I like that as a very reliable floor play for the high price type of players. And then Carmelo Anthony at 4,700. You don't hear me give much in terms of props to Melo at this point of his career. But at 4,700, I think he can be a 26 or 27 point performer. Do we look at Grayson Allen? Because he's playing well. Or he has played well. He's at $4,000. Grayson's last 3 games have averaged 30 points in 26 minutes. DeAnthony Melton is somehow out of the rotation. I think we have to at least look at Allen as somewhat of an option here. As dirty as it might make you feel to put him in, I don't think it's one that we can just sit back and completely ignore. The next game, we look at the Sacramento Kings. They're taking on the LA Clippers in LA. The Clippers are 10.5 point favorites. That is one to really watch. 10.5 points is huge. The total, 231.5. Lou Williams is questionable, while Serge Ibaka, who missed last game, is probable. Hassan Whiteside is questionable for the Kings, and Marvin Bagley has popped up as probable with a wrist issue for Sacramento. Kawhi's at 9.4. Like it, I'm just worried about the blowout in this one, while Rashawn Holmes at 6.4, similarly with the blowout. Marvin Bagley at 5.6, I think the blowout favors him because he's not really considered part of their best 5 usually. He's been playing. He's been putting up better numbers. I think that's more of an appropriate way to frame what Bagley's been doing. But at 5,600, there is value in using him. When Paul George at 9,100, I think that's cheap enough that even in the case of a blowout, George can be someone who has value at that sort of salary. Bud Hield and Tyrese Halliburton, they're probably priced a little bit too high. When speaking of price too high, De'Aaron Fox is up to 8,900. Now, that is in response to him dropping 78 last game. I don't expect 78 at all, but they bumped him up by $1,000 dues. That is too expensive in my mind, and I would probably find someone better on a slate like this than De'Aaron Fox. The last game of the night is the Spurs and the Warriors. There is no Drew Eubanks or Luka Samanic, but Andrew Wiggins, probably the biggest name there. He's questionable with a knee problem. Now, if he is out, that'll push Damian Lee right into the spotlight. Oubre's at 5,500. He is just quietly averaging I was going to say he's averaging 5,000 points. I wish. He's averaging 32 points over the last 3 at 5,500, while Steph's at 97. I don't mind Steph at 97, especially against this Spurs team. 3,400 is the one we want to look at there for Damian Lee. Again, if he works out and he does get to start because of Wiggins, there is a 20, 25 point potential there with him. While Keldon Johnson at 66, I think is too high, and DeMar DeRozan at 85 is probably on the high side. It's not one that we're totally pushing against. I forgot to turn that off on the screen. But I do think that DeRozan at 8,500 is one that can have some appeal without being the best out there. Aldridge at 6-1, I'm pretty loath to get invested heavily in LaMarcus Aldridge at this point. That'll do it for us. Wednesday, 10 games on in the NBA. Don't forget to check for postponements and check for injuries. Subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell button. Hit the thumbs up. And leave a comment down below. Guys, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. See ya.